when I transmigrated into the role of the male lead's high-maintenance cannon fodder girlfriend. I dedicated myself to following the plot. Every day I shamelessly humiliated Ethan in bed while squandering his fortune during daylight hours, waiting for the moment he'd finally reject me so my mission could end. But no matter how outrageously I behaved, Ethan always responded with that infuriatingly tender smile, indulging my every carnal and financial demand. Just as I grew perplexed by his unshakable composure, my malfunctioning system suddenly screamed frowny face host. You've been sleeping with the wrong man. That's the novel's most unhinged villain. Ethan. I froze. No wonder he remained so unflappable. Compared to his darkness, my mischief was kitten play. Terrified, I tried to flee, only to crash straight into Ethan's chest. He tossed me back onto the bed, methodically undoing his shirt buttons. Since you've bullied me so thoroughly, his breath scorched my neck as his gun pressed into my ribs. Shouldn't I get to retaliate just once? My first conscious sensation was the musk of restrained arousal thickening the dim room. Blinking through the gloom, I saw an imposing figure trembling in the armchair, a man with military straight posture despite his disheveled uniform. Pearlescent sweat glistened on his exposed collarbones as crimson bloomed beneath his lowered lashes. Hey! I tentatively reached out. The world spun violently, suddenly pinned beneath crushing weight. I choked on the scorching brandy scent enveloping me. A gravel rough voice growled against my ear, identify yourself. Here's the truth, I'm Lila. The story's villainess. In the original plot, this character posed as Ethan's devoted lover until his financial ruin revealed her gold-digging nature. She was meant to drain his remaining wealth, abuse him nightly, then discard him to the black markets. Surviving this betrayal transforms Ethan into a ruthless mogul who eventually executes her with bored precision. My mission? Play out this script and die properly. Except the cold steel nudging my side felt alarmingly off script. Since when did the male lead carry firearms? Ethan's thumb caressed the trigger as moonlight glinted along the barrel. My survival instincts screamed, this wasn't the betrayed lover from the novel. This was something far more dangerous. The voice on the other end remained chillingly calm, laced with deadly menace. Who the hell are you? A shiver raced down my spine at the murderous intent radiating through the line. I scrambled to follow the script, throwing myself at him with desperate sobs. Who else would I be? I'm your girlfriend. Babe. The line went deathly still. His voice dropped to a gravelly rasp. Girlfriend? I nodded frantically, terrified he'd put a bullet through me for lying. That's right. Darling. Don't you remember? I'm Lila. You called me baby yesterday. How could you turn so cold overnight? I'm literally falling apart here, my voice cracked with manufactured heartbreak. Though truthfully, sheer terror made my tears flow easier. To any observer, it'd look like genuine romantic devastation. A dark chuckle vibrated through the receiver. Suddenly his face filled my vision, magnified through the video call. Those glacial eyes. That razor-sharp jawline. Lips curved in mocking amusement, the living embodiment of aristocratic perfection. My breath hitched. Only Ethan could weaponize beauty like this. The novel's description didn't do justice to how lethally attractive the male lead truly was. Sweetheart. Ethan purred, his tone dripping with false tenderness. If you're really my girl, shouldn't you know what to do when I've been drugged? His scorching breath fanned across my ear as the screen blurred. Every nerve ending ignited. Heat pulling low in my belly. My pulse roared like thunder. Wait, was this where the plot demanded I sleep with him? But the novel clearly stated Ethan despised physical contact with Lila. Since when did he initiate intimacy? My hesitation drew a derisive snort. He leaned back with icy detachment. Pathetic attempt. Even faking it. You're incompetent. Rage overrode survival instincts. I yanked his collar forward and crashed my lips against his. Screw consequences with a body like that. I'd consider this a privilege. Mission be damned. I was getting my money's worth. Ethan's eyes flashed wide. His hands flew up to push me away. But the drugs flooding his system betrayed him. A guttural groan escaped as he fisted my hair, devouring my mouth with desperate hunger. Hours later, tear-streaked and trembling, I learned two brutal truths: never challenge a Collins air stamina, and nightly humiliation in the novel's flowery prose actually meant getting railed into the mattress until sunrise. As dawn painted the penthouse gold, I finally understood readers' outrage toward the original villainess. But staring at Ethan's sleeping form, muscles glistening with sweat, all my moral indignation morphed into odd respect. Nightly sessions? I croaked, massaging my ruined lower back. Queen, your pelvic endurance deserves its own Wikipedia page. The grand marble floor gleamed under a crystal chandelier dripping with diamonds. Every exquisite detail screamed opulence, from the gilded moldings to the king-size luxury bed that tripled the size of my old mattress. Tears of disbelief spilled down my cheeks. I knew Lila came from money. But this? This was next-level wealth. A bowl of congee suddenly materialized in my line of sight. Ethan's familiar baritone rumbled. Why the tears? Not impressed with my place? Why your place? I stammered, rubbing my eyes like the view might change. His thumb brushed away my tears, lingering uncomfortably warm against my skin. Last night, I got carried away. The porridge has painkillers. Heat flooded my face as last night's memories resurfaced, tangled sheets, breathless challenges, my drunken boast about giving him performance anxiety. The congee turned to ash in my mouth when he declared, "I'll take responsibility. You're staying here now." I nearly choked. This wasn't how the story went. Weren't I supposed to be sheltering the bankrupt heir? Not getting adopted by some luxury hotel in human form? Problem, baby? Ethan's smirk widened. Last night you vowed to ruin me for other women. Already backing out? I squirmed under his gaze. Between these satin sheets and his unfairly chiseled frame, surviving this mission seemed medically improbable. It's the bed. Too unfamiliar. I need my own. Say no more. His smile turned predatory. We'll have last night's mattress delivered. That one's broken in. My cheeks burned. Since when did the bankrupt playboy outmaneuver the gold digger? The script had flipped. Instead of draining his accounts, I was drowning in Egyptian cotton and his stupidly perfect abs. Some villainess I turned out to be. For some reason, my system crashed the moment I entered this world. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't reconnect. Left with no choice, I abandoned the glitchy system and continued my transmigration mission alone. 3 objectives remained: seduce the male lead, drain his wealth, then die. The first task went suspiciously smoothly. Instead of recoiling in horror like the original plot described whenever I touched him, Ethan kept smiling like we were strolling through spring meadows. Thinking about it now, I cursed under my breath. What a freak. Stealing myself. I marched toward Ethan's office. Time for phase 2, the cash grab. I slammed the door open with my debit card held like a weapon. Ethan, I'm broke. My bravado evaporated instantly. Dozens of armed security contractors swiveled toward me in the cavernous office, fingers tightening on triggers. Though my endgame involved getting killed by the male lead, there's a vast difference between single-bullet romance and becoming Swiss cheese. My legs gave out and I immediately crouched down, hands clutching my head in surrender. Don't shoot. Wrong room. Leaving now. A soft chuckle cut through the tension. Ethan lounged behind his desk, cheek propped on one hand, lips curved in amusement. Don't scare her. Boys. Come here. Sweetheart. You were saying? The security team lowered their weapons, but my scalp still prickled with adrenaline. How could I possibly repeat my demand now? I shuffled forward, all former confidence replaced by honeyed tones. Honey, my account's empty. Could you Venmo me $10,000? You know, to maintain appearances? Ethan examined my basic blue debit card before wrinkling his nose. My pulse quickened finally. The plot deviation was correcting itself. In the original story, Lila squandered Ethan's remaining funds after his bankruptcy, indirectly causing his mother's death. This tragedy became his villain origin story, fueling his hatred for gold diggers. As he frowned at the card, excitement bubbled in my chest. Was the storyline finally back on track? Then he tossed my card aside. Before I could react, Ethan produced a sleek black titanium credit card engraved with the Collins family crest. Why use this peasant plastic? He sounded genuinely puzzled. The spending limit's barely 6 figures. Take my black card instead. I gaped at the financial instrument that could buy a small country. 6 figures? Peasant? If this is your idea of bankruptcy, what does that make me? A panhandler? Sometimes I really have to laugh at how broke I am. After a few more days of living in a drunken stupor, I suddenly snapped out of my delusions. No. I can't keep spiraling like this. My mission was supposed to be completing the original plot. But now the storyline's so messed up even its own mother wouldn't recognize it. In the original novel, after Ethan slept with Lila once and got some benefits, he already hated her guts. So why is it that after sleeping with him daily and showering him with favors, Ethan's still smiling at me like sunshine? Did my mission difficulty get secretly upgraded? I got angry for a moment. This is impossible. Just then, Ethan's unfairly handsome face suddenly appeared inches from mine, planting a kiss on my cheek. Why the pout? Baby? Who upset you? His breath smelled like expensive mint. Remember that limited edition bag you missed at last week's auction? I bought you an entire roomful. Want to go check them out? I immediately brightened. Sure. Okay. Maybe this isn't completely unbearable. Aha! That night, ear-splitting electronic screams jolted me awake, rubbing sleep from my eyes. I grumbled. Who's making that racket? It's me. Host. Your system. The familiar robotic voice wailed. Do you have any idea how hard it was to bypass Ethan's surveillance to reach you? Finally. I sat up excitedly. You're back. Quick. Check my mission progress. The system fell silent. After a long pause, it squeaked. There's good news and bad news. Good first. I said automatically. The good news is Ethan's affection meter is maxed out at 100%. Mission accomplished. He actually likes me? My charm's that potent? I bit my lip to suppress a grin. And the bad news? The bad news is, the system burst into static tears. Why the hell are you romancing the villain? My mission was to find the male lead and follow the plot. You haven't even met the actual protagonist. How dare you ask about mission progress? My brain short-circuited. Wait. Ethan isn't the male lead? Not only is he not the lead, he's the ultimate psychotic antagonist. The most ruthless, scheming devil in the entire story. I stared blankly. Those words didn't match the man who'd built me a private chocolate fountain last Tuesday. But, you told me before transmigrating that the male lead's name was Ethan Collins. Wrong. The system screeched. I said the male lead is Evan Collins. The villain is Ethan Collins. How could you mix up two completely different names? Seriously? Those sound identical. Anyone would have confused them. Giving up on arguing with this defective system, I asked the crucial question, what now? What else? Run. Her voice trembled with fear. Do you know what a true villain is? Someone far more ruthless than your worst nightmares. If you fall into the hero's hands, you'll get a quick bullet. But the villain? God knows how you'll die. Run for your life now while you can. The system's shouting made my head throb. I instinctively scrambled off the bed, ready to bolt. But when I looked up, my blood turned to ice. Ethan stood motionless in the dim doorway, his expression unreadable in the shadows. The silence stretched like coiled wire. Sweetheart. he murmured, voice deceptively soft. Who were you talking to? Where exactly did you plan to escape? This felt worse than encountering a ghost at high noon. Cold sweat dripped down my spine. I couldn't see Ethan's face clearly. Couldn't gauge how much he'd overheard. My only chance was to bluff. Summoning every ounce of acting skill, I flung myself at him with a dazzling smile. Honey, I was just on the phone with Lila. She went to this amazing escape room today. My fingers curled around his sleeve, giving playful tugs as I rambled. They had secret passages and puzzle boxes. Doesn't that sound fun? Maybe we could try it sometime? To my relief, Ethan's lips curved into that familiar charming smile. Of course we can, he purred, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. But first, let's play our own game. My heart skipped. Game? His thumb brushed my lower lip. Since you enjoy escaping so much, why don't we have a home version? 30 minutes. His eyes darkened like storm clouds. If you make it past the gates, you're free. But if I catch you, the unspoken threat hung between us. Deal, I blurted before he could reconsider, pinky locking his finger. No take-backs. I took off running before he could blink. How hard could it be? Even his sprawling mansion had boundaries. 30 minutes was more than enough. Hell, I could crawl out if needed. 30 minutes later, I collapsed breathless before endless rose gardens stretching to the horizon. The reality hit me like a freight train. Ethan's home included 12 acres of nightmare fuel. I'd sprinted past marble fountains big enough for yacht parties, crossed moats with actual swans, dodged through what looked like a private zoo, only to face this botanical labyrinth under the full moon. Damn you, Ethan! I shook my fist at the starless sky. Who needs this much land? The night wind howled through twisted topiaries, making skeletal leaves clatter. Somewhere in the darkness, an owl shrieked. I quietly lowered my arm. The adrenaline crash left me trembling. For the first time, I noticed the complete absence of security cameras or staff. Just me, the manicured wilderness, and the creeping realization that every rustling bush might be. Having fun yet? I whirled around. Ethan leaned against a stone archway, moonlight glinting off his wedding band. His smile showed teeth. 10 more minutes. Little rabbit, run. The sprawling garden felt eerily deserted. My footsteps crunched against gravel as I crept backward, neck prickling with the primal urge to check behind me yet terrified of what I might see. Brambles snagged my sneaker, a split-second distraction that sent me careening forward. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing for impact. Collarbone first collision never came. Fabric tightened against my throat as unseen hands yanked me sideways into a wall of body heat and bergamot-laced cologne. My scream died mid-shriek when moonlight illuminated Ethan's smirking face. You lost, he murmured, breath warm against my temple. Logic insisted I should squirm away from his arms still looped around my waist. Instead, my racing pulse slowed as though his touch had flipped some internal circuit breaker. Cheater, I mumbled into his cashmere sweater. Your maze has, like, 12 extra hedges. His laughter vibrated through me. Our pinky promise didn't specify landscaping restrictions. When he lifted my hand for a courtly kiss, the night's chill evaporated faster than morning dew. 3 ice water splashes later in the ensuite bathroom, reality hit. System! That was our last escape window. Alternative protocol activated, the voice in my head chirped. If you can't flee, make him eject you. Research indicates 87% of males detest clingy partners within 72 hours of excessive neediness. Next evening, I pounced the moment Ethan's Lamborghini purred into the driveway. You're late. My Oscar-worthy sob muffled against his Armani tie. 5 whole minutes. Was your meeting more important than me? To his credit, the tech mogul didn't flinch at my sudden octave hike. His palm settled against the small of my back, steadying, not shoving. Traffic on 101 was. Excuses. I channeled every reality TV meltdown I'd ever binge-watched. If you loved me, you'd helicopter commute. Something dangerous glinted in his hooded gaze. Instead of retreating, his fingers slid upward to cradle my nape. Careful, darling, he purred. I might start believing you actually want my undivided attention. The warning should have terrified me. So why did his thumb stroking my pulse point feel like winning? Ethan froze for a moment before gently wiping my tears with his fingers. What's wrong? His voice softened as I choked back sobs. Clutching his collar desperately. Honey, are you seeing someone else? Through blurry vision, I saw Ethan's eyebrow arch slightly. I don't care. You came home so late tonight, you must be chasing after someone else. I forced more tears, mentally replaying every childhood embarrassment to fuel my dramatic performance. Just as I reached peak theatrics, something warm brushed against my cheek. Turning in confusion, my waterworks abruptly stopped. Ethan held up an elegant pastry box with resigned amusement. Told you your memory's terrible. Weren't you obsessed with trying this new bakery's limited edition collection? My breath caught. The exclusive patisserie only crafted 5 desserts daily. Their master chef notoriously selective. I'd casually mentioned it days ago without expecting anything. Yet here he stood, having somehow secured their golden ticket. I pressed a hand to my chest, willing my traitorous heartbeat to slow. No, couldn't falter at mere chivalry. My eyes darted to a crimson smudge on his collar. Wait! What's that? Triumph surged as I yanked his shirt open. Since when do you wear lipstick? Ethan? Pink tinged his ears as he glanced down. Long fingers grazed my lips. His voice turning husky. This would be your signature red, sweetheart. From this morning's enthusiastic goodbye kiss. Heat flooded my cheeks. For all his reputation as ruthless business predator, Ethan played devoted boyfriend disturbingly well. I just need reassurance. I stammered. To know I'm your entire world. Done. Cold metal clicked. My blood turned to ice as Ethan dangled silver handcuffs. His genteel smile twisting under dim lighting. Let's become inseparable. Shall we? He advanced like a stalking panther, backing me against the wall. Though perhaps this outburst means you've missed me, intensely. My protest died as his mouth claimed mine. The handcuffs' weight burning against my wrist. The air crackled with heat, igniting at the slightest spark. The scent, warmth, and touch uniquely Ethan's, they invaded my world with overwhelming intensity. Struggling to breathe, I tilted my head back involuntarily. The metallic click of handcuffs snapped around my wrists. Ethan murmured against my ear. Don't worry, baby. We'll never be apart. Fortunately, though unhinged, Ethan didn't actually keep me cuffed forever when I tearfully claimed it was just a joke. As punishment, though, he kept me restrained all night. By morning, my back protested with such stiffness that I could barely move, rubbing my sore muscles. I gloomily assessed my failed strategy. I'd thought my act of possessiveness was convincing enough. But Ethan's obsessive tendencies eclipsed mine completely. Talk about walking right into the lion's den. Clearly, my plan to annoy him into kicking me out wouldn't work. Normal people's logic didn't apply to Ethan. My clinginess didn't irritate him. It thrilled him. Dragging my system into another strategy session, we finally devised a new approach after hours of deliberation. Host. The system concluded. For someone with warped possessive instincts like Ethan, conventional methods fail. We need reverse psychology, become confrontational. Like, what exactly? I blinked. Glare at him with bloodshot eyes. Humiliate him. Say you detest being near a freak. Control freaks hate defiance, he'll expel you immediately. The plan sounded plausible. Except for one snag. No matter how wide I stretched my eyelids, they refused to redden. Improvising became necessary. When Ethan returned that evening, he found me with swollen, tear-stained eyes resembling overripe peaches. His footsteps quickened as he cupped my face. What happened? Remembering my instructions, I glared fiercely. I hate you. Ethan simply massaged my strained eyelids. I know, but I adore you. His velvet tone disarmed my attack effortlessly. Tell me what's wrong, sweetheart. Let me fix it. My rehearsed insults stumbled out half-choked. Why you think I'd stay with some deranged jailer? No normal person would. His Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed hard. You're right, darling. The handcuffs were excessive. Calloused thumbs brushed my cheekbones. Next time I'll be gentler. Or feel free to restrain me instead, I'm yours to punish. I gaped. Our conversations kept derailing into bizarre territories, making me wonder if we occupied different dimensions entirely. Ethan gently rubbed my motionless head, then started to rise. I'll get ice packs for your eyes. No. My pupils constricted. I'd mustered all my courage to humiliate him if interrupted now. I'd never recover. Lunging forward, I shoved his shoulders hard. Caught off guard, Ethan tumbled onto the bed, eyes widening. You. Now. My stiletto slammed onto his sculpted abs. The system shrieked triumphantly in my mind, yes. Crush his dignity. Host. Ethan froze beneath my heel. I dragged my shoe across his torso, secretly admiring the firm ridges. Clearly he trained hard. Changed your mind about letting me retaliate? I taunted, while mentally panicking, is this enough humiliation? The system chirped, guaranteed. His profile shows childhood abuse, he despises bullies. Everyone who ever wronged him vanished. My smile faltered. Vanished? This idiot system. I wanted exile from home, not a one-way trip to the afterlife. As I tried withdrawing my foot, Ethan's grip seared my ankle, dragging the stiletto downward. Though leather separated us, heat crawled up my leg. His gravelly murmur raised goosebumps. Why stop halfway? Our positions flipped violently. Ethan loomed above, smirk curling. Call me twisted? You're the one inventing depraved games. Why hint at desires? Tonight, we'll try them all. After 7 days of this, my body collapsed before Ethan's patience did. The system groaned, he's love drunk. Time for Plan Z. I listlessly gestured proceed, already regretting it. All humans crave wealth. Bankrupt him. I stared blankly. Worse than previous ideas. Much worse. Given Ethan's immense wealth, if converted to cash, it would take 3 days and nights of inferno to burn through it all. Yet this remained my last resort, though impossible to deplete completely. Surely I could spend enough to make him wince, right? The capital city auction gathered elite socialites, dignitaries, and underworld figures beneath crystal chandeliers. Priceless exhibits flanked the crimson carpet, the kind I'd never dare approach in my previous life. But the tables had turned, swiping the black card relentlessly. I emptied display cases amidst gasps and sidelong glances. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, lips forming silent questions about when the spending spree might end. Truthfully, I didn't know either. My mission simply required continuing until Ethan couldn't tolerate it anymore. The phone's sudden ringtone startled me. Ethan glared from the caller ID. Heart pounding. I answered with saccharine sweetness. Hello, darling. Did you need something? You've been making continuous purchases. His velvet baritone held unexpected amusement. I feigned innocence. Is my sweetheart worried about his bank account? A warm chuckle vibrated through the receiver. Silly girl. I'm concerned about your delicate hands. Those shopping bags must weigh a ton without proper security. I've dispatched additional bodyguards to assist. I blinked. But, isn't this too extravagant? People are staring. Though known as a ruthless tycoon, Ethan typically valued discretion. My current behavior blatantly contradicted his usual restraint. Not at all. He soothed, voice wrapping around me like cashmere. Shine as brightly as you wish. My dear. I'll always foot the bill. The system's final strategy had failed. Yet instead of disappointment, unfamiliar warmth bubbled in my chest, pulse racing like hummingbird wings. How peculiar. Post-auction, I retreated to the ladies' lounge, shedding bejeweled gown for comfy sweater. The moment I slumped against the vanity, shrill whispers pierced the marble walls. That tacky show-off is actually Ethan's mistress? I pressed against the stall door. Curiosity piqued. Hush! You're loud enough to wake his security detail outside. Another voice hissed. Silk skirts rustled as the socialite pack circled. Who does she think she is? Buying out entire collections? That Cartier necklace alone cost 7 figures. Probably some gold-digging actress. Someone sneered. Mark my words, he'll toss her aside within the month. Men like Ethan always do. My nails bit into palms. Before realizing it, I'd thrown the door open. 6 stunned faces turned chalk white. Ladies. I smiled, holding up the black card gleaming like obsidian. Shall we place bets on that? Oh my God. Did anyone count how many things that woman bought tonight? It's like she's got endless money to burn. What a shopaholic. Exactly. And after getting with Ethan, she never shows up in our circles. The moment she does, she flaunts it like she's challenging us, probably just wants male attention. Dressing that extravagantly on purpose, my husband couldn't stop staring. She must be loving this. Ethan being with that kind of woman is such a disgrace to their family. I listened without the slightest ripple of emotion, almost wanting to laugh. Who knew these strangers I'd never spoken to would gossip about me like cockroaches in the shadows? But in this life, I've never lacked for backstabbers whispering behind my back. As long as they don't cross me, they can chatter all they want, they'll never get so much as a sideways glance. I pushed open the door to leave. Then a shrill voice pierced the air. Am I the only one who thinks Ethan isn't exactly Prince Charming either? My foot froze mid-step at Ethan. The woman ranted on, that gold digger's no heiress, she's got zero influence. Everything she did tonight was obviously ordered by that bastard Ethan. When our families partnered before, he canceled contracts over some stupid village his workers accidentally damaged during construction. Bastards will always reek of gutter blood. Now I stopped completely. Turns out I knew so little about Ethan. None of these stories matched the man I'd been living with. The Ethan I knew bandaged stray cats' wounds, personally thanked charity directors who came to our door, and indulged my wildest whims without hesitation. None of it aligned with the monster the system warned me about, or the villain this woman described. Growing up thick-skinned, insults rolled off me like water. But hearing Ethan slandered stirred something unfamiliar, bewilderment, and slow-burning anger. The crowd gasped, scrambling to silence her. Are you insane? If anyone hears you bad-mouthing Ethan, pfft, what's he gonna do? The red-lipped woman sneered. Plant spies in the ladies' lounge? Hi there. I tapped her shoulder. Her sentence died as she turned, elaborate makeup failing to hide her sudden pallor, like she'd seen a ghost. I smiled sweetly. Care to include me in the conversation, ladies? These bold gossips turned stammering messes face to face. Oh. You're Ethan's darling. You should have announced yourself. What perfect timing. We were just discussing your lovely self. Society matrons swarmed me with forced laughter and death-grip arm links. I let them cling, maintaining gentle tones, not perfect timing. Really. I've been here listening for 10 minutes. Exhausted from all that shopping. Needed extra lounge time, hope you don't mind. Their faces cycled through rainbow hues of humiliation. Apologies. Dear. We had too much champagne. Must dash. Until next time. Stilettos clacked like gunfire as they fled, likely praying our paths never cross again. I let my smile drop. I tapped on the system interface. System. You mentioned investigating Ethan's background before. Can you share it with me? Of course. But, the system sounded puzzled. Why the sudden interest? I wasn't sure myself. When I first transmigrated into this novel, I'd only focused on completing missions, indifferent to whoever the target might be. That's how I'd mixed up protagonists and antagonists before. But now, I desperately wanted to understand Ethan, his joys, his sorrows, his past, every hidden facet of his being. Ethan's biological father was the patriarch of the Carter family. The drunken night he'd assaulted Ethan's mother became her living nightmare. She rebuilt her life with fierce resilience, raising her son through street vending while whispering during quiet moments, "Your name means peaceful feast. We'll leave the past behind. My precious boy." True to her word, she never sought help from the Carters despite their hardships. Ethan grew up enveloped in this unconditional love until his 12th birthday. Armed men stormed their home as his father sneered, "This is Carter blood. You think you can keep him under your pathetic surname?" The Carter matriarch's infertility had driven them to reclaim their illegitimate son. Overnight, Ethan became Lucas Carter. He endured years of cold glares and brutal training, biding time to escape back to his mother. His first attempt ended in disaster. The labyrinthine mansion defeated the boy, resulting in harsher punishments. Mrs. Carter ordered servants to bleed out the bastard's filth through daily abuse. Yet Lucas kept escaping. Capture. Worse, retaliation. Escape again. When he finally staggered home years later, he found dust-covered ruins. Neighbors clucked sadly, "Such tragedy, that poor woman wasted away before 30. The system paused as I raised a trembling hand. Closing my eyes did nothing to ease the acid burning through my chest. In the midst of chaotic thoughts, my mind suddenly drifted back to the night Ethan accompanied me to an escape room. I'd been rushing through that sprawling mansion for a full 30 minutes, collapsing from exhaustion before even spotting the exit. Little did I know then that Ethan had once walked similar paths, a wounded child dragging his battered body through endless corridors, repeatedly searching for non-existent exits. Yet our stories diverged completely. My failed escape didn't matter because someone always came to retrieve me, wrapping me in warm coats. But 12-year-old Ethan found only icy abuse and vicious curses after each failed attempt, followed by fresh despair. The rest unfolded predictably. After learning of his mother's death, Ethan transformed with terrifying speed into a ruthless strategist. He consolidated power within the Carter family with brutal efficiency until Lucas's birthday, when he walked into the master bedroom holding a pistol. Lucas and his stepmother collapsed in terror, clawing at locked doors as Ethan advanced with a jade, smooth smile. "Weren't you both so brave when tormenting my mother?" The Carter family became the Collins family that night. After finishing the story, silence lingered. Eventually my system murmured, "I'd skimmed these events before, but actually walking through them, this antagonist's path seems unusually tragic." Even this jaded AI's reaction surprised me. "Then why is Ethan considered the villain?" I pressed. "A tragic hero avenging his mother doesn't sound evil. Perhaps later events explain it." The system pondered. He built his empire in a city's most dangerous district. While appearing power-hungry, he actually protected vulnerable residents. To deter troublemakers, he cultivated a fearsome reputation. The monitoring systems labeled him villain based on that facade. So Ethan became a villain simply for pretending to be one. Misfortune pursued him both in life and narrative. Yet somehow I knew he wouldn't care, this man who'd weather any misunderstanding to protect what mattered. "Sweetheart." His familiar voice materialized behind me. I turned to see Ethan standing under streetlights, his trench coat draping over broad shoulders like frost on pine. Winter melted from his features when our eyes met, warmth blooming in his smile. My heartbeat accelerated, though I kept my tone casual. "I thought you were sending security to carry my packages." He closed the distance, effortlessly taking my bag with one hand. Can't I handle this myself? His eyebrow arched. Let's go. I slid into the passenger seat. Before he could start the engine, I caught his hand, fingers intertwining with the scars mapping his past battles. His palm turned instinctively to cradle mine, calloused skin whispering stories of survival and silent guardianship. Ethan froze. What's wrong? I shook my head. Nothing. Just something in my eye. Could you blow on it for me? True to his nature, Ethan immediately leaned closer. Moonlight illuminated his deep-set eyes, transforming them into liquid pools of molten silver. For a suspended moment, I wanted to drown in that mesmerizing gaze. He frowned slightly, voice dropping to that velvet murmur I'd come to adore. Your eyes are bloodshot. Hold still. But I didn't. As he bent nearer, I tilted my chin up and brushed my lips against his. The kiss caught him completely off guard. I couldn't help giggling at his stunned expression. You're too gullible. I just wanted an excuse to kiss you. Ethan's answering grin turned predatory. Before I could react, he captured my mouth in retaliation. This wasn't our usual fiery collision, but something slower, sweeter, a silent conversation where every lingering touch whispered devotion. Breathless and giddy, I thought if I died in this moment, I'd die happy. Confession, Ethan murmured against my lips during a brief reprieve. I lied earlier. His thumb traced my jawline. Came over because I missed you. The groceries were just an excuse. Love had always been foreign to me. At 7, my mother swore eternal love before vanishing. At 8, my father made similar promises while planning his new family. At 14, a blushing classmate's confession dissolved into tearful accusations of me being an unfeeling monster when rejected. I learned to mimic warmth. Perfected the art of being likable. People called me radiant, thoughtful, the life of every gathering. None suspected the chasm between my polished exterior and the frozen wasteland within. Then the system chose me, said my emotional detachment made me perfect for mission work. That's how I stumbled into Ethan's orbit. This man who'd endured greater hardships yet somehow retained his mother's gift for loving fiercely. Through countless encounters, Ethan alone proved love wasn't some fairy tale. It existed irrational, relentless, defying all logic. Later, as shower steam curled from the bathroom, I sat cross-legged on our bed and pinged the system. Need to discuss something. The holographic interface materialized. Proceed. I squared my shoulders. I'm withdrawing from the original mission parameters. Silence. Then sputtering static as the system glitched. Warning, task abandonment forfeits 100 million credit reward. Since when do I need money? I deadpanned. Joke's on me. The AI grumbled. But you know the real consequence. I did. Abandoning the plotline meant permanent exile in this world. Severed from my original reality. For most, this would be unthinkable. But as water droplets pattered against glass in Ethan's off-key shower singing drifted through the apartment, I found myself smiling. Here, with this man who'd thawed my glacial heart. This was home now. But I'm different. Going back wouldn't be that great anyway. I don't have family, friends, or anything worth missing there. I looked up with a faint smile. But here, I have the person I love. So it doesn't matter if I never get the system rewards. My greatest prize has been right beside me all along. My words froze mid-air as a muscular forearm suddenly locked around my waist. Ethan's husky voice brushed against my ear from behind, warm breath making me shiver. Thank you, baby. My fingers clenched as panic blanked my mind. You knew? Ethan buried his face in the crook of my neck. Voice muffled. Since the beginning. Since the day I heard that damn system trying to convince you to run away. My eyes widened. That early? I'd been so proud of my quick thinking escape room lie. Thinking I'd fooled him. All this time he'd known. Choosing to play along. turning in his arms. I searched his face. "Why didn't you call me out?" "Why would I?" Ethan countered, thumb tracing my jawline. "You were enjoying the game. I was enjoying watching you play it. Why ruin our mutual entertainment?" Guilt tightened my throat. But I kept lying to you. "That's terrible." Warm fingers pressed against my lips, silencing me. "You're not terrible. You've had countless chances to hurt people since gaining wealth and status here. Yet you chose kindness." His hand slid away, replaced by the soft pressure of his mouth in the amber-lit darkness. "You stayed with someone like me." His whispered words feathered across my skin. "You're a good person. My person." Those two sentences shattered my self-control. My arms wound around Ethan's neck as I kissed him back with clumsy desperation. "But I've bullied you so many times." I mumbled against his lips. "How can I make it up?" In one fluid motion, Ethan flipped us over, his heated gaze turning my cheeks scarlet. "Let me retaliate just once." His teeth grazed my earlobe, voice dipping to that dangerous rasp that always unraveled me. "Don't worry, baby. Just one night." Winter arrived, bringing Ethan's birthday. I led him through snow-dusted gardens, repeatedly warning, "Keep your eyes closed. Almost there, no peeking." The man who made underworld kings tremble obeyed like a devoted puppy, dark hair dusted with snowflakes. 10th reminder. "Sweetheart." Still not looking. His rare docile expression made my heart flutter. "Aren't you afraid I'll sell you off while you're vulnerable?" Ethan's lips quirked. "Would you really?" "Maybe not, if you beg nicely." Laughter rumbled through him as he pulled me closer. "Then I beg you, Lila. Never let me go." His forehead pressed against mine, snowflakes melting between us. "Stay with me. Always." Ethan was impossible to resist. I immediately clutched my chest and vowed, "No matter how broke I get, I'd never sell you." "I was just joking earlier. We're here. Open your eyes." Ethan smiled as he lifted his lashes, only to freeze completely upon seeing our surroundings. The warm amber glow of pendant lights embraced familiar furnishings, every detail carried echoes of his childhood. This was the home he'd shared with his mother before everything changed on his 12th birthday, when he'd last returned after her sudden death. The place had become a derelict shell of despair. Now, the haunting shadows seemed to melt under the golden lamplight. I nervously watched Ethan's motionless silhouette. This birthday surprise had taken months to prepare. Using archival photos provided by the system, I'd painstakingly cleared cobwebs, restored damaged furniture, and recreated the original layout. Some permanent stains of time remained, but I'd blended in modern accents where exact replication proved impossible. The final result balanced vintage warmth with contemporary vitality, or so I'd thought. "You haven't disliked it, have you?" I stammered. "I wasn't sure if your mother would approve of the changes." Ethan turned and pulled me into a breath-stealing embrace before I could finish. "Still waiting for your verdict," I managed to gasp, patting his shoulder. When he finally loosened his hold, his eyes glowed like molten caramel in the warm light. "It's perfect." His gaze remained locked on me rather than our surroundings. The feather-light kiss caught me mid-breath. A tear trickled down to my collarbone. "Thank you, baby." Years ago, his mother had stood in this exact spot smiling, "Welcome home, Ethan." Now the words came from someone whose very presence made his chest ache with warmth. After years of wandering, he'd finally found his way home.